When you hear that bell, you know it's time for another episode of the Three Falls Wrestling Podcast. We are available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and everywhere you get your podcast from. I'm Derek, joined as always by Matt Pepper. Matt, what wrestling catchphrase would you use in a presidential campaign and go?
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo!
I would have used I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Three Falls Podcast. So let's get into it. Today, I really want to talk about referees in wrestling and the important role they play. A lot of people just think they're just a prop, but that's really not the case. A good referee can make or break a match. So I wanted to really get someone on who's an expert in this field. And unfortunately, Jay Smith wasn't available.
Damn it.
I'd like to introduce you to this man. He's wrestled matches throughout Ontario. He's refereed matches involving Walter, Ultimo Dragon, and a lot of other great talent. And the list goes on. He's a champion, cookie eater, a father of cats, a giver of pizzas. His jokes are they're
Terrible.
They're punish. But he is one of my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, Steve Sorensen. Steve, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good, Derek. It's good to be on here. I appreciate you guys having me. I'm really kind of shocked that Matt Pepper didn't go with the absolute perfect and obvious answer of catchphrases, which is trust me.
Oh, there we go.
That's why I need you around.
You really blew that spot, Pepper.
I did. I mean, I did the job. I'm sorry.
So, Steve, you've been refereeing for a number of years throughout all Ontario.
Yep.
With some pretty big promotions. So you're a really good guest to have when we're talking about referees. And first things first, my question to you is, why is a referee important?
Well, the whole idea is that we're trying to make a believable presentation of a fight. You can't have a legitimate fight without someone officiating it. If it's just a brawl, people aren't going to keep coming back. You know, you have to have someone in there to enforce the rules to help tell those stories. Because it's great to say, oh yeah, you're not allowed to choke a guy on the ropes. Everybody should know that. But not everybody knows that. You can't get a lot of heat as a heel without having a good referee.
So
because if you're going to do dastardly things, you've got to have someone who can tell the audience, hey, this was dastardly because.
So with that being said, why is a referee's credibility important?
Because the whole idea is you're supposed to be the authority in there. If you look at a boxing match or at an MMA fight, the referee is the last line of defense, the only authority in that ring. And the only way to prevent things from going completely sour. And even though we're all working together, obviously, as we all know, it's kind of a similar role in wrestling where if the match is going south, a good referee can help turn it around, can help calm the waters and get it back on track.
All right. Well, last night I was watching Dynamite, and there was a tag team match where one member of the team was in the ring illegally. The ref started counting to 5, but once he got there, the guy didn't leave the ring, so the referee was forced to count to 6, which, as far as I know, is a disqualification, but he didn't DQ the guys. The match continued on. What would you do in a situation like that?
So 2 things. 1, AEW's tag rules are actually to the count of 10 when you're in the ring.
Oh, really?
Yes, that was something they established very early on. But, and this is where the easy confusion comes in, they don't use the count at all. You never see it. And it's so inconsistent between each of the referees. I will say flat out, I do not dislike any of the referees individually. They all have their own style. I could do with a little less of Bryce Remsburg and his overreacting to everything. But at the same time, they all have their own individual characteristics, and that's great. But you have to have consistency between your officials. So Even if you and I go out there and I play the straight-laced, very serious referee, and you're more of a someone who reacts to everything and looks at everything with a big emotional reaction on their face, you still have to keep the same cadence that I do and still follow the same rules that I do. If I'm counting faster than you are, whether it's pinfalls or tags or whatever, it doesn't make the matches make sense anymore, because now people in my matches have a different set of rules than people in your matches. So if someone's in a title match in mine and I count quicker than you do, the guy who lost the match will be like, well, I didn't actually lose. He counts faster than the other refs. And it kind of takes away from the credibility of everyone involved.
Also, it takes away of the credibility of if you're doing a spot with the referee, and you can't always have I've seen matches where you referee and you've been known to do comedy spots here or there.
Oh, absolutely.
However, I don't think it would work if you were always that silly referee and you were never serious and you never enforced the rules, correct?
Exactly. So the idea, and comedy wrestling is not something I'm very good at. It's something that's my weakest part of my officiating ability as far as I'm concerned. Because for me, a referee should be heard and not seen. The greatest official I've ever seen is the referee for the old NES Nintendo wrestling game. They didn't have enough space on the disc, on the cartridge, and they realized, oh man, we don't have a referee. So what they did was they added the smallest amount they could. So the referee isn't in the match at all until you pin a guy, and then he's 1, 2, and if the guy kicks out, he's gone and disappears on the screen. That's the greatest referee on the planet. You should only be seen when it helps tell the story. My big thing with their officiating, and again, it's not them individually, it's not their refereeing. They lack direction.
Yeah.
They're being told just go do what you do. But nobody's telling the wrestlers how to work with them. They all just figure everybody knows what they're doing. The easiest thing in the world in a tag match is to work with heels that are heels. Because if you're the heel and you go into the corner and you start beating on a guy, I'm going to give you a count. I'm going to give you the 1, 2, 3, 4. And when I get to 4, you're going to back up. When you back away, most wrestlers that are worth their salt are going to put their hands up. Hey, I wasn't doing anything. I broke the count. And they're going to keep walking backwards so that I have to go with them while they talk to me about what they weren't doing and how they were listening to me and they respect my authority and all that. When I keep walking with them, we're now in the center of the ring. I can't see a damn thing behind me because I'm admonishing him for what he did wrong or what he almost did wrong and how he needs to follow the rules. Meanwhile, Pepper's in the corner beating the crap out of the other guy and I can't see it. That's good heels. They don't do that with AEW's tag matches. They just make the refs look like crap all the time.
Yeah, I would agree.
It drives me crazy because you can do so much more with a decent referee, let alone a great referee. I've always said to people when they ask me about reffing and what the great value of a ref is, like how to really look at it and quantify it. If you think of wrestling as meat and potatoes for dinner, referees are the cheese on the potatoes. If you put too much, too little, the wrong type, you've got too strong of a flavor, it doesn't match with the type of meat and potatoes that are in there, it can completely ruin the meal. If you have a referee that's in there that you're trying to do a serious match and they're busy pretending to put themselves in a wrist lock or overreacting when you lock up, it completely ruins it. But when you can find someone who can work with the talent and can help tell that story, it just makes it so much better.
So I got a question. So who is a referee today, or even actually in the past, that you would say is probably the ideal referee that has that formula down pat?
John Cone, Jason Ayers. Those are the two right now that are both great. John Cone especially is someone that a lot of people watch when they're trying to figure out style, because you don't notice him. He's there when the guys are in the corners, he's there. You don't really notice him otherwise though. But when there's something going on and he needs to help tell that story, he is exactly where he needs to be. He doesn't move around too much. which that's another thing that kind of drives me nuts is refs that are hopping around, jumping back and forth, and can't just stand still.
Ooh,
Let the guy
Okay.
circle.
I
Like,
got a
this
question.
go for it.
Because I think, to me, I'm kind of surprised you didn't say this name, but now that you're elaborating on why you chose who you chose,
Yeah.
what are your opinions on Charles Robinson?
Okay. I will preface this with Charles Robinson is one of the most legendary referees ever, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
He's probably my favorite. So
Charles Robinson, he does react a lot to things. But even with his movements that he makes, his movements, there's a purpose to them. He's not jumping back and forth between the corners while the guys are circling. He'll sit in a corner, let them move around, let them get in their position, and then he gets himself perpendicular to them so that he can see what's going on. I think he's great. Does he have giant facial expressions a lot of the time? Yeah, he does. But he doesn't do it for everything. He does it for chops, and he does it for big moves. He doesn't react to every punch. And when you look at where he came from, WCW's referees were all very much, they reacted to everything. You look at him, you look at Nick Patrick. I feel terrible that I can't remember his name now.
Mickey J.
I'm
just trying to come up with.
But
Are you talking Brian Hildebrand?
Thank you. He refed all the cruiserweight matches. Yes, I always forget Brian Hildebrand's name, which sucks.
Or Mark Curtis?
Yeah, Mark Curtis was his.
Yeah, Mark Curtis.
name.
Yeah. So Mark Curtis was one of those guys who, he would overreact to a lot of things, but when he would do it, he was 99% of the matches he was doing was the cruiserweight matches. And he would do it because they were doing crazy, ridiculous twisting dives where there's like 16 flips in a dive. I don't blame him one bit for losing his shit when stuff like that would happen. The big thing for me personally, I came from a legitimate officiating background, which sounds like a really weird thing to say. I was a hockey referee for over a decade. I've refereed hockey, I've refereed basketball, volleyball. I was an umpire for a while. And in all those sports that I refereed, I never once reacted to a fight. You would go in. The idea with a hockey official is when you're a linesman, part of your job is you break up fights. And the fact that hockey even has that in the rule book as far as when you're being trained to be a referee, it's that kind of a sport. But part of the deal is you're the linesman, and you do exactly what a wrestling ref should do at the beginning of a match. You get perpendicular to the guys so that they're locking up, face to face. You're off to the side about 2 feet back, and you're waning. And one of two things is going to happen. One of them's going to drop the other guy, or they're going to get tired. And when one of those two things happens, you zip into the middle right away and split them. I've never once in all of the fights that I've refereed reacted of, oh my God, that was a huge punch. You can't. You lose your credibility there.
Yeah.
So when I see guys just like, oh yeah, one guy punched a guy to open the match and they lose their mind for it, you've lost all credibility to me.
Yeah. Just to add on that, I was listening to Busted Open today, and they were talking about, I think it was Dynamite last night. There was someone was on the floor, and the referee went out to check on them.
Yep.
And the thought was, why is the referee going out to check? Why would the referee care? The referee should just start the count. Because as soon as the referee, what's that?
I fully agree with them going out to check him. Because what would I do if it was a legitimate contest? I'm going to go out and check because you look like you died. And if you can't continue, I'm calling the fight right there.
It's like boxing.
Wouldn't you just do the count, though?
No, because if I literally think you've died, I'm going to make sure you're alive first. If you say you can continue, then I roll back in and start the count.
It's almost like boxing when a guy's down and he gets to his legs. The referee's still counting, and then he's like, oh, can you continue? It's almost kind of like a reverse version of that.
Yeah, it's like the standing 8 count, exactly. I get where they're coming from as far as the wrestling idea of it. Like, why wouldn't you just start the count? But given the day and age we live in with concussions, it doesn't make health and safety sense anymore to referee like that. So from a legitimacy standpoint, it definitely actually makes more sense for me to go, oh God, you died. I'm going to make sure you're still breathing, and then I'll go in and start my count.
But I think with that, like for me, if I'm looking back in the 90s when I'm watching wrestling, they never did that, right? So I think that's more of an explanation sort of thing where the announcers or the company would be like, okay, they're going outside to check on him. If he can't continue, they're calling the match. Would you agree with that?
I would fully agree with that. I have to give – there's times where you can tell JR is just not happy with calling certain types of matches, but I have to give him so much credit because he tries so hard to cover for those refs when they're being made to look bad.
Yeah.
You hear him so many times. Like, you can tell when he gets frustrated and just goes, or just don't count. Like, he'll say stuff like that. And it's just great. You can tell he's just like, I'm so done with it.
He buried the first ref last night.
That's the ref actually I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. It's funny, though, because I think you're going to see, and this is going to sound like a weird statement, you're going to see with the addition of FTR that they're going to help change that division so that they respect the rules more. I can't remember which one of it was, but one of them called out Pentagon on Twitter. Yeah, and he's like, because Pentagon was like, oh, I miss being in AEW. And Pentagon, he's just like, well, maybe we'll teach you how to tag wrestle properly, with the rules.
Oh, they did. He did another one last night where they were watching the tag match, and he said, tag ropes are right there, just dangling in the wind.
Yep. There's a lot of little things that the rules can add to a story, and the AEW fan base, I don't think, is necessarily worried about a lot of those things, but you could help them understand a match so much better and get even more reactions when they understand those things. Eventually, the new kid on the block pops are gonna fade, and you're gonna have to develop more. Guys like them are going to help that.
So I got a question because I obviously don't know, but you might. Now, for wrestlers, there's road agents. Is there such thing as a road agent for a referee? Like a senior official to teach other referees, hey, this is what you should do? Or like in your experiences, especially in your early days, is there someone that pulled you aside and taught you, hey, you shouldn't do this, or this is how it's done?
So when I started refereeing, the whole reason I started reffing was because I was so sick and tired of seeing the terrible referees in Ontario. The people who were screwing up finishes, they were getting in the way, they were doing things to try and put themselves over and make themselves bigger than the match.
Yeah, Jay Smith.
Especially Jay Smith, that prick. In all seriousness, get better, buddy. No, but it was just, I really got frustrated. And I got so mad to the point that Tyson Duke said to me, he's like, you want a ref? And I'm like, yes. He's like, get in the ring. And I worked with him for like an hour at class the one day. And this was probably about a year after I stopped training because I was not good enough to wrestle. And we spent about an hour in there, and he's like, you're good. He's like, you're already doing better than the majority of people out there. And the big part of that was because he was my trainer. I couldn't do all the stuff he taught me to do. I physically wasn't able to do it. My brain understood it. So when guys were trying to do spots, I knew where to be and where not to be to get out of their way. There's a lot of stuff that you learn over time, though. And I was very, very lucky that I had access to Jimmy Corderas when I first started. And I will readily admit, aside from my jokes, I am one of the most annoying people on the planet. So I have a hard time going up to talk to people because I know that I can be annoying. So I would go up to, like, I talked to, Tyson was one of the people who I would talk to the most because he's a good friend of mine and he was my trainer. And I knew that he wouldn't sugarcoat it. I was very lucky that Jimmy Corderas actually said to me he watched one of my matches. And I was like, wow, like, thank you. Like, is there anything I can change? And he's like, you're doing good. He's like, you just need more time in there. Like, you can tell there's times where you don't feel natural, where you're not sure what to do with your hands or with your body. He's like, that just comes with time. But I was very lucky that I had him. I had Jake Clemens that I could learn from, who's a great official down in Evolve. And between those two, and begrudgingly, Jay Smith was nice too. but those three definitely helped me a lot, and as well just the training with Tyson. I think a lot of it helped where I was able to work with such good talent too. Because I mean, I've been stupidly lucky with the people that I've been able to work with. Just on the Ontario level itself, working with Tarek and Brent Banks and Tyson and Josh Alexander and like all these high caliber talents, they can keep you from screwing up very easily. The best example I can think of is Tarek, because every match I've had with him, without fail, Tarek hits a move or he takes a move, and it's going to be a pin afterwards. He makes sure that the shoulders are pointed at me so I don't even have to move.
Wow.
And it's literally, he'll take a bump, know which corner I'm sitting in, and twist himself so that after the bump, he moves a little bit so he's pointing right at me. He hits a move, he'll twist the guy after hitting it so that it's pointing right at me and I don't have to move. Makes me look like $1,000,000, like I'm always in position. And that made my life so much easier when I first started.
What do you think, how important the open instructions are to a match? When I was watching, I think it was NWA 70, they brought Tommy Young as a senior official to oversee the official, something like that. I forgot how they explained it, but he came in the ring, he walked around the ring, he checked all the turnbuckle pads for weapons and everything, and he went around and did the whole thing. I miss mannerisms like that. How important do you think something like that is?
I love it, but it needs consistency to it. So every time I get in a ring, even if I've already reffed 3 matches that night, the first thing I do on my 4th match, I'm checking the turnbuckle pads. I'm doing it to make sure that they're not falling off because I don't want somebody to die when they run into the turnbuckle. Those things suck. They're hard metal. It hurts. So I always check the turnbuckle pads. I check the ropes every time I get in the ring to make sure, A, that they're not loose, B, that they're not slippery. There's a number of times, I think Derek can actually agree with seeing me do this a couple times, where I'll literally just untuck my ref shirt, wipe the rope, and tuck it back in before the first entrance even starts.
I think I saw that before too.
I saw him actually shine wrestlers' boots in between matches.
That's a half truth. I believe I tied a couple of boots. But no, stuff like that, I love the idea of bringing more legitimacy to it, because you can get into the story more with things like that. Personally, when I referee people's matches, so let's say, Pepper, it's you versus Derek. Now,
we're going to say over.
No contest.
Listen, whichever one of you's got the $10, you're going over. That's fine. But if it's the first time, so Pepper, we're going to say that you and I have never worked together, but Derek and I have had a few matches.
All right.
So I'm going to come up to you guys and say, hey, I'm Steve. I got your match tonight. Do you guys know your finish? I'm going to say, yeah. Pepper's going over with a spinning pile driver through a burning table. Sweet. Okay, good to know. I didn't realize we're on AEW Dark. So, listen, I know you guys are still putting the match together. I'll come back later. Run me through it once. That way I can make sure I'm not out of position. You guys, later on, you run me through the whole deal. I'm then going to turn to Pepper, because Derek already knows this stuff because I've given him this speech before. Pepper, listen, you're the heel tonight. I'm never going to get the 5 for you if you're beating on him in the corner. Okay? I'm going to give you a warning, and then I'm going to start counting. When I get to 4, I'm going to get between you guys. I'm going to put my forearm on your hips, and I'm going to push you back. Give me resistance so that I have to really push you back and make you look bigger. Letting a heel know that, they're going to be much happier to work with me and not make me look like a jackass throughout the match, because they know I'm on their side. Yeah. I'm also going to tell you, listen, when I count you out of the ring, I'm going to be like, bullshit, 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 bullshit. 1. Blah, 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 blah. 2. You're going to about 5 seconds between each count. I'm not going to count you out unless you make me. So if I get to 8, break that count. I don't care if you just put a hand in the ring, just break the count, and I'll start again. Giving that kind of information to the fans about going over rules and everything can be very helpful, but I find the bigger thing for me is making sure the guys know how I'm going to work before we get into the ring, so that they understand how much leeway they have. and that's going to help them tell their story better and give more. The crowd will get used to it when they see it, as long as I'm consistent in what I do each time.
Wow. There's a lot of insight here. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people think, the referee's role is just you count 1, 2, 3, that's it, right? Like, you just a pop, like I said at the beginning of this interview. But you're really giving us a lot of insight in how there's a lot of psychology based in being a referee and being a part of the match and being an important role in the match.
Absolutely. I mean, I was very lucky. I got to work with Ricky Steamboat once, and he didn't have to do this, but he literally grabbed everybody that was at the building and said, "Okay, everybody in the ring, we're going to do stuff," and just started teaching everybody. And he goes, "All right, you're my ref tonight? Yep. Okay, listen. Here's something that Finley taught me that I want more refs to do." He's like, "If I've got a guy in the corner and I go in and start punching him, Finley would have the ref be like, 'All right, come on, Finley, break it up.' So he'd get 1 shot in. Ref would go, 'Come on, Finley, break it up.' He'd have gotten 2 shots in. The ref would go 1. He'd get 1 more shot in and back up. And he keeps all the heat for himself instead of the ref possibly scooping it from him unintentionally." That, to me, was one of the best pieces of advice I got, because it helped me with how I did everything in the ring. If I give you that warning, that little bit of extra time, you can do more dastardly things and never make me look bad for doing it. And that keeps all of that nasty energy towards the heel like it should be. And I think that's helped make a big difference in a lot of the matches I've been in.
Do you have any memories of your first match as a referee?
Okay. So there's my first match as a referee, and there's my first match at Smash as a referee. They're 2 different stories. My first match as a referee was actually a tag match with Scotty Turner, who is amazing. And actually, I'm going to kill his gimmick. He's one of the nicest guys on the planet. But it was Scotty Turner and a young kid from Superkick against Checkmate, Lionel Knight and Bishop. And the first match I had, I ripped the crotch in my pants. Now, I was very lucky that this was at Superkick, and Superkick does these great things where it's a very atmospheric event. Anybody who kind of they like the Boneyard match and things like that, they would love going to Superkick, because it's a very it's a darkened bar type event. Everybody's standing room only, and there's music playing during the match. So it seems more like a fight scene from Mortal Kombat kind of thing. So thankfully, lucky for me, the lights were dark enough, and I was smart enough to have been wearing black underwear that nobody really noticed. So I get to the back. Thankfully, I hadn't read Jimmy's book yet, but somehow I knew this. Jimmy, in his book, said, "Always bring a second pair of pants." I had a second pair of pants. Go to ref my second match. Yeah, I ripped that crotch too. So between my second and third match, I've got a roll of athletic tape, madly taping my crotch like crisscross, because it was I'm not even kidding, it was from the bottom of my zipper all the way up my butt crack. So I'm just taping. And meanwhile, Dukes is over the corner just pissing himself laughing at me.
Oh man.
This would become a running trend for me at shows, because it happened for a number of shows where I would rip the crotch out of my pants, to the point where I started carrying 3 pairs of pants with.
Is it an unwritten rule to wear black underwear then?
It's not even unwritten. You're always told to wear underwear that matches your pants, because if that happens, that will save your ass, literally.
Yeah, you don't want to be Zack Ryder's opponent there.
No. So my first match at Smash was a tag team match, and it was the Kimber Bombs, Kimberly and Cherry Bomb, who's now Allie, and it was them against Lufisto and Vanessa Craven. So
Okay.
When you're a referee, it's very much like going to an improv class. When someone goes with something in the ring, you never say no. You're just like, yeah, let's do it. So Lufisto comes up to me, talked to her before, like maybe once, said hi kind of thing. Again, kind of a shy human being, bad with social cues, so I tend to not talk to people unless I know them. So Lufisto comes up. I'm not going to do a French accent because it'll be terrible and people get mad at you guys and then they'll just vilify me. He says, so we have a spot for you in the match. I'm like, cool, okay, what's the spot? She's like, okay, so Cherry Bomb and I are going to be in the ring. She's going to be yelling at me, and I'm going to grab her by the chest and twist. So she's going to give her a purple nipple. I'm like, okay, cool. And she's like, we're going to spin around 180 degrees so everybody sees it. Okay. She's like, and then she's going to grab me. Okay. Everybody's going to spin around 180 degrees again. Cool. And then you're going to knock our arms away. I'm like, oh, okay, makes sense. She's like, then I want you to say something. That's not wrestling? She goes, yeah, say that. Perfect. She's like, that'll work. I said, okay, cool. So we do that. You knock our arms away, say that's not wrestling. Her and I look at each other. Yep. We look at you. Yep. And then we grab you. Yep. Wait, what? So the idea was that they were going to give me a purple nurple, and then she was going to laugh so hard at it that Cherry was going to get the cutter off and start the heat. I figured, sure, yeah, let's do it. No problem. This sounds like fun. Not realizing I was going to get ribbed. Spot comes up. They do their spot. They look at me. I tell them that's not wrestling. And they proceed to grab me. Now, Cherry Bomb, being the wonderfully, amazingly nice human being she is, barely touches me. Lufisto grabs me and tries to rip my nipple off. Even if the spot hadn't called for it, I would have fallen to my knees just out of pain.
Knowing you, that doesn't surprise me. That would be a story that would only happen to you.
Wednesday morning, I woke up and my phone was blown up. Everyone on Twitter and Facebook, they were talking about the Impact Slammerversary promo, which featured recently released WWE talent. So the Impact ad actually had images. It was like a news type ad, and they had images of Eric Young, Mike and Maria Bennett, Luke Ellis and Carl Anderson, Rockstar Spud, who we know as Drake Maverick, EC3, and Brian Myers, aka Kurt Hawkins. Now, according to Brian Alvarez, WWE offered released talent a contract at a fraction of what they were previously paid so that they can come back. So my question, I'll start with our guest, is which of those talents do you actually see signing with Impact and appearing at Slammerversary? Obviously, Drake Maverick's off the table. He signed with NXT. We know that now. But who else would you think that they would pick up?
100% Eric Young.
Yeah.
I don't see him going. I don't see him going anywhere else because I think that's where he'll be happiest.
Yeah.
I think he'll be comfortable there. There's a lot of people there that he knows that he's worked with, and I think he can do his thing and find ways to be creative and have a lot of fun with that. Obviously, Impact would be smart to sign any of them.
Well, yeah.
But I think,
okay. What about Mike and Maria Bennett? We'll just go down the list here. You see,
I feel like they're going to end up with Ring of Honor, New Japan, because I think that was where they really cut their teeth.
Yeah.
I don't know that they would be able to go back and do what they did in Impact before, because it's a different creative regime now and it's a different style of how they want to tell stories. I loved Maria in Impact when she was the crazy, conniving, terrible wife, and poor Mike Bennett just being this cuckold, like just poor guy, just couldn't get his life together, and he was just stuck being basically her bitch. Him as the drunken, like, I've given up on life husband was amazing.
And they kind of did that in WWE as well, to a lesser extent.
They did, absolutely.
It just didn't
don't
translate as well.
Yeah.
No. So what about Luke Ellis and Carla Anderson?
I think if they end up anywhere in North America, it would be AEW. I don't see it being Impact.
Okay. Obviously, Rockstar Spud, he signed. He's out of the question. EC3.
That's a tough one, because I really think AEW is going to be very interested in him, but his greatest success was Impact, and I think wrestling is the one place that proves the old adage wrong. You can go home again.
Okay, and then that leaves us with Kurt Hawkins, aka Brian Myers.
I don't know if he honestly is going to end up anywhere. I think he might just be happy running his school and doing his thing.
Yeah.
You know, I know that he really enjoyed his time on the Indies between his 2 WWE runs. So he may just want to do that again.
Actually, I don't have it written down here, but it also hinted at Rusev.
Yeah, they had the Bulgarian flag on the video.
There's someone
I
else. Do you know who the other guy was that they hinted at?
That's
Was
the
it?
one that I remember.
Yeah, there was another one where they didn't have footage because they were not signed with. Maybe it was who's the guy from the Vaudevillains?
Oh, Aiden English.
Aiden English.
Yeah. Do you see any of those guys?
I think if Rusev was going to go anywhere, he probably would have the best success in Impact. I feel like AEW are just going to get lost in the shuffle right now. They've signed so many people, and they're not doing anything with a lot of them. It's really turned into keeping the same guys on TV, and let's put everybody into a 3-person group so that at least they're able to appear on TV when they're not doing something.
Yeah. See, I would like to see Rusev in like NWA. I think that would be a good fit for him.
I think that would be a great fit if he was going to continue the evil foreigner heel. Absolutely.
Yeah. So okay, so I mean, Pepper, do you with what Steve said, is there anything that you disagree with? So far, we only have Eric Young and possibly Rusev. So
I would agree on Eric Young. I think I don't see him going to AEW.
is there anyone you disagree with, like that he said that wouldn't be going to Impact that you think would? Because so far we okay. So here,
go ahead. Sorry.
okay. So here's where I'm getting at. Okay. So far we have Eric Young and we have possibly Rusev. They did this big, huge tease, and they had all images of all these guys. Come Slammerversary, if Eric Young's the only surprise, I mean, Rusev would be big, but if it's just Eric Young, do you think a lot of people are going to be soured off of that?
I would think so, but I don't think they're going to put that video out unless they have something concrete with at least a few of the talents. I'd have a hard time believing that. But if it's just Rusev, I think that people would be happy with that anyway, because he to me is the biggest name that was released in that whole shuffle with WWE.
I mean, you do got Luke Ellis and Carl Anderson. I mean, that's the Bullet Club right there, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't know. I think they would be going to AEW. The tag teams are about the only thing I can see going to AEW right now. I agree with Steve. There's a lot of people get lost in the shuffle there right now. They have too many names. They have too many people they're not doing anything with. But in terms of Impact, I would assume it's gonna. I would assume Rusev. Why would they have the flag on there?
Well, just right?
I mean, truthfully, the promo video is well done because it's got people talking. We're talking about it, right? So everyone's curious on who's actually going to show up.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Because if they have everyone's talking about it and it's a big disappointment, I could like a lot of people are just like this is getting interest, and a lot of people could very well just be like, okay, that was my last chance with Impact, you know?
Right.
So.
I could definitely see a lot of people going, well, that's the same old Impact. Tease a lot, not get anything. I think that's not necessarily fair to the current Impact, and they're still trying to fight out from underneath.
Yeah.
You know, the Dixie Carter regime, the Hogan regime, was all about, oh, we're going to have the biggest thing ever, and then they would do nothing with it.
Yeah.
I think they actually did a good job of tempering expectations with this, of just showing clips of people and not necessarily saying anything.
Yeah.
They've left it very vague. And I think, like you said, if we have Eric Young come out and then he's in the ring, I'm home, I can't believe I'm here, and the only other thing that happens is Rusev comes out of the crowd and just beats the ever-loving hell out of him, I think that's going to be enough for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So let's move on here. Speaking of Impact, let's talk about a former Impact Wrestling champion, Jeff Hardy. This past Friday on Smackdown, they started an angle where it was almost like a DUI type of thing. Elias was shown down on the ground, and it was Jeff Hardy's rental car that allegedly hit him. Then they found Jeff Hardy passed out, and apparently he smelled like alcohol or something,
Yeah.
and then they arrested him. Eventually, he came back in the main event, but do you think like an angle with something like this, where this man has had so many problems with substance abuse and drinking, he was arrested like what 2 years ago, not even. Do you think it's okay to do something like this? Obviously, he might have given the okay, but should they go here there?
No, I thought this was completely tasteless. You know, if they come out next week and there's people in riot gear, I think it's just going to be another sign of Vince completely having lost his damn mind. There is literally no need for this type of an angle. There are so many better ways to tell stories. This is just, we don't know how to tell this story to give you Jeff Hardy in some way. Let's just do something shocking.
Yeah.
So, but they say like I mean, even the best angles and even like the best characters in wrestling are they say that it's the person turned up to 10, or like the best angles are the ones that they hit home, that they're very close to real life. So like why not go there?
I think there's certain things that you just don't touch. Um, Things like this where it's he's a danger to himself and a danger to others when he has that. Like when he's been in that state of mind or lack thereof, he has been a danger to everyone around him and himself. That to me is not okay. Much in the same way that I don't think a domestic violence angle could ever be done, because you just can't do that without it tainting everything. I feel like this is the same thing where it's such a hard issue for so many people. The number of people who have lost someone to a drunk driver, or lost someone to an overdose, or to drinking themselves to death, and the amount of pain that that's caused in our worlds, it just isn't worth going down that road to see if you could make this into something.
Matt, any thoughts?
Um, See, it's a tough one because when we were talking last week, and I had said that fans generally don't view wrestlers as actors, right? They view them as wrestlers. They view it differently. So it's always a dividing line, in my opinion, with a lot of fans. Some say, well, this is a show, so it shouldn't matter. Other people believe it's too close to the reality of the individual. I have a hard time with this one. Because I'm watching it and I'm like, my immediate thought that was this is going to be a murder mystery type thing, like somebody set him up, something along those lines, and to put heat on whatever heel was probably involved with it. But it's reminiscent of like Road Warrior Hawk falling off the Titantron, or I think there was another. I think there was
Scott Hall,
another. Scott
98.
Hall. Thank you. Yes. Which, I mean, you go back and Austin's pouring beer on him and stuff like I don't stuff like that is it goes a little too far. And again, it's a dividing line. If it's just a storyline, should it matter? But since they're wrestlers and this is part of their real life, you're walking a pretty thin line. So I have a hard time with that one.
All right. Well, let's move on, and I really want to talk about this. This is going to probably this has been a really big subject this past week in wrestling, and it's about Nia Jax and the way that she apparently injures a lot of her opponents. So, what I want to know is, do you think that she is being safe, or is she just being villainified?
I'll go first. I mean, there's been a lot of There's been a lot of stories that have came out about people getting injured in the ring with her. I think there's a couple problems with it. I don't know how long she's been with the company now. I would say 4 or 5 years.
Since 2014.
2004, 6 years. Okay. I mean, they called her up pretty quick out of developmental, I thought. So sometimes she does look a little clumsy in the ring, but at the same time, I wonder when it comes to agents and she's doing different moves in the ring, I think she should only have a limited move set anyway. She doesn't need to do a lot. And now we're seeing it lately where Kairi Sane, for example, she got busted open pretty hard. They banned the buckle bomb because of her. I don't know. A lot of people say she's unsafe. There probably is some issues there, but I think part of it too is if she doesn't know how to do these moves, the company should be prohibiting her from doing them too.
I think it's definitely a case of she got too much too soon. Like you said, she got called up really early. If you look at her time in NXT, I don't remember her injuring a lot of people in NXT. I don't really remember her injuring anyone in NXT. But you're working in a much more closed environment, and you're able to work one-on-one with your opponent so much more before going into a match.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much almost like the old style of wrestling where the house shows were done to let you work on things and get used to things. So you'd go and do that Florida loop where there's 150, 200, 250 people, and you're working with someone over and over and over again, and you start to develop a rhythm with them. When you look at her now, Kairi Sane's one of the greatest wrestlers on the planet. And if you can't keep her safe, you're really screwing up.
So I just want here. I have a list actually of some injuries that she allegedly has caused and to whom. So Zelina Vega, she threw her out of the ring and it caused a concussion that happened at Evolution. Amber Moon, it was unspecified what happened, but her boyfriend/husband went on Twitter afterwards, kind of hinting that Nia Jax did something, and that happened on the December 3rd, 2018 Raw. R-Truth at the Royal Rumble 2009, she knocked him face first into a wall, and he injured his face and ankle. Bayley on the July 31st, 2017 edition of Raw, she threw her out of the ring, injuring her shoulder, then further injuring it with a slam in the ring, and that actually put Bayley out for an extended amount of time. Charlotte, she missed Charlotte on a moonsault dive outside the ring and also caught her face on a shoulder breaker. That happened on a Raw. I just want to mention Jax, Nia Jax looked really exhausted at that point when she did hit the shoulder breaker. And then of course everyone knows about Becky Lynch, stiff punch breaking her nose, which caused a concussion. Now there's a long line. Now, mind you, that's going back to when 2017 to now, so 3 years. But then you have other people like Diana Perazzo. Thank you. I can't say. I never knew how, who said that she's worked with Jax and she's never walked away hurt. Now, I got another list I want to read out to you. And this guy, he's injured John Cena with a flying knee. He busted his nose.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. 2 buckle bombs against Sting, which ended Sting's career. But then Sting later went on saying that it was his fault. A buckle bomb into a barricade, injuring his shoulder, putting Finn Balor out of action for a long period of time. Any guesses who this might be?
Seth Rollins.
Now,
here's the fun part, though. Both, like Sting said, I think Sting just took it on the chin and said, oh, it was my fault because he's a good guy. The buckle bomb or the barricade bomb to Balor, if you watch the clip back, it wouldn't have happened if Balor didn't reach his arm back. If he would have had his arms in front. and I don't know what caused him to do it. But his arm goes back just a little further, and that's what did it. I don't want to blame Seth for that. At the same time, look at Seth's style versus Nia Jax style.
Yeah.
Nia Jax works a big person style that is, you're capable to be safer with it. Seth Rollins does high impact strikes, high impact moves that require more precision. So you're at a higher risk of injury with those.
Well, that brings me to my question, is that because she's a woman, she's working with women, and she's so much bigger than them, that the injuries that she's causing are being placed under a microscope, that people are noticing them more than with guys. Because let's face it, wrestling is not ballet. Like, people get injured. It happens all the time.
Nia's so much bigger than the majority of the other girls, right? Especially with someone like Kairi Sane.
She's also bigger than most of the guys.
It is also true. I mean, she did that double team move with, what was it, Otis at Money in the Bank? So she's I don't know. Truthfully, if I'm looking at it, I think really her matches should just be simple. I don't think she should be doing much. I think it should be straight away. I don't know, Samoan drop, leg drop. I don't know. I have a hard like if you're talking about the Seth Rollins and Sting thing. That's a move that probably didn't even need to be in the match. Why would a guy that's 60 years old or close to 60 need to take that move? And
Agreed.
And why would, if you
gotta get your shit in, brother.
If you have an agent for the match, like, why would they ever say we need that in the match? With Nia, I'm sure you could come up with some creative stuff where she's just bulldozing girls without killing them.
See, and my thing with Nia is, when you watch her, if she has problems doing a Beal out of a corner where you hook the person under the armpit and flip them, if she has problems doing that, why are you having her do buckle bombs? Because it is so much easier to hurt somebody with that.
True. Yeah, that's true.
And
so,
sorry, I was just going to add one thing.
You go, because I was going to ask another question. Go.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, and then for the girls that are getting injured, right? How many girls would reseat Nia?
That's true. Not too many. Maybe Asuka.
Yep.
Or Shayna Baszler.
Yep.
So that brings me to my next question, kind of like, should there be any actions taken towards her? And if so, what should they be?
Retraining. I don't think it's something where she needs to be removed or fined or anything like that. I think it's somebody needs to sit down with her and go, look, we need to get you refocused on how to do these things. We need you to spend, we're going to keep you on Raw, but once the PC opens back up and if they start doing house shows again, we need you at the PC 3 days a week, 2 hours a day in the ring, training with specific people for specific purposes. That, I think, is the best way to resolve that. Because by all accounts, she's not a bad human being.
No. We're not saying that. We're talking about
they love her.
Yeah.
There's so many people who say it. But see, here's the thing. You can't be an unsafe wrestler and a prick.
Right.
If you're both of those things, you're never going to be anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you're a really good person and you make mistakes, people are willing to help work with you. And I think she's very much one of those people who a lot of people really do like her genuinely and would want to help her improve. And I think if you said to her, look, like, we want you around here for the next 10 years. We want you to be a part of this to help us grow this division even more. But we need to build the pieces, not break the pieces.
Green.
You can't build a house on broken Lego.
No, you can't. And you can't fix bullet holes with a Band-Aid, right? Is that the Taylor Swift lyric?
I have no idea, Derek. That's out of my wheelhouse.
I feel like that's actually right in Derek's wheelhouse, because I'm sorry, man.
I know it is.
Disney, I don't got it.
He
I got-
bailed on the show to watch Teen Mom last week. So
Oh, it was juicy. The tea was good. Got that kiki. Anyway, let's move. I just have one last question about this topic that I want to bring up because it was such a big piece of conversation in the wrestling world this past week. Do you think that WWE sensationalized it to build the match with Asuka and Nia Jax at their next pay-per-view?
well, if it's a
Because
real
I mean, you had Kari saying, obviously, everyone that was there was an employee of WWE. It's not like you had fans going around at the tapings talking to people and that. So everyone in that building was a fan of WWE, or not fan, sorry, an employee of WWE. That spot happened, and it got out right away because that was a taped show from last week, and it got out the next day. So everyone, it was building for the entire week. And let's admit it, a lot of people were watching Raw, were waiting for that spot to happen. And they did not know seriousness of the injury or what happened, but they knew something happened. Do you think WWE let that information out because it did look gruesome? Kari Sane released a photo later on Instagram or Twitter, and it was a deep cut. Like, what I'm asking is, do you think WWE is trying to play the internet audience to build this feud?
I think with ratings in the tank the way they are right now, they're doing anything they can. Given how secretive everything has been with the tapings usually, it's kind of surprising that something like that got out. I wouldn't be shocked at all to find out that they said feed it to people.
Yeah, I mean they gotta generate interest any way they can, and we know when things get on social media and they blow up, it's gonna put a lot of heat on Nia. So that will generate some interest towards the match. And Asuka's pretty well the top babyface now, so she's gonna. And that's the other thing too. Like Asuka, I don't think that would happen to in a match. So people would look at it like, okay, if that happened to Asuka, what's gonna happen now? Nia is dangerous. Is this gonna happen in this match? So it does generate some interest.
Have any high points or low points from this past week's Dynamite?
Big Swole.
Oh, yeah, I loved her gear.
So the gear, the Power Ranger gear, I lost my mind.
Yes.
But it was the post-match stuff that was just great because it really let her shine as a personality.
Yeah. You know who I really been enjoying? And it's funny because she plays such a small role, but I really enjoy it, is Rebel.
Yes.
Yeah. When you see her roll her eyes every once in a while, it's just great.
Yeah, and the way that like she's playing like the clumsy oof or idiot to Britt Baker. And
Reba.
Reba or what?
That's what she was
Call
calling
me
her.
Reba instead of Rebel.
Oh, I don't know. I thought he was doing a Tito Santana.
No, that was.
I thought he came up with his presidential campaign slogan.
Jeez.
No, Reba was a couple shows ago, Derek.
Yes.
Pepper, is there anything from AEW that you want to bring up?
Well, I'm not gonna go through all my copious notes, but Brian Cage, 2 squash matches in a row, love it. Taz's promo after the match, that was really good. Taz is a good mouthpiece for Cage. Did you guys see the Tully promo they had online?
Yes.
Yes.
What'd you think?
I thought it was way better than Taz's. I love Taz, but I think his delivery's a little weird right now.
Yeah, he's trying to do the angry Taz and as in his 50s.
And he's stumbling with his wording at times.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with stumbling around wording. I do it all the time.
I just because I'm so used to clean, polished Taz promos that are just like everything's on point and there's never any mistakes, that the little hesitations are really noticeable to me. The one thing I'd love for all of them to stop doing is swearing so much. I realize I've cursed like 8 times on this show today. I just feel like it's less is more, right? And it's if I hear someone say shit 5 different times in 5 different promos in the same night, what's the point? You're just saying a word.
I find it odd they can even do that.
Yeah, and they bleeped ass. I was like, wait a minute. I think we're at the wrong end of the scale of what's a curse here.
No, I just wanted to touch on the Tully thing. So they had the promo, and then they showed it on the show, but then they had the second promo with Spears last night, where you gave him the glove.
Yes.
Okay. Any thoughts on the glove?
Is this supposed to be like a coal miner's glove or something that's loaded?
It's supposed to be like DiBiase's old glove from the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, and wasn't
Blackjack
that like
mulligan.
It was a
Well,
loaded glove.
Coal miner's glove was a WCW gimmick for spin the wheel, make the deal with Sting versus Jake the Snake Roberts, and it was terrible.
It was a Southern wrestling gimmick long before that.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. But I thought of it as, I don't know. I was like, is this like a Barry Windham thing? Like, I didn't really, because he said something like a lot of great men have worn this, or I can't remember quite how he said it, but it was something he's alluding to. I'm giving you this because this is handed down or passed. I don't know.
See, I like the idea of the glove because I'm an old school fan. But I think it's the wrong guy. I can't really see Sean Spears. Like, I don't know. I just don't see him really being the guy to utilize that gimmick.
Yeah, and Spears, he's I don't know. He's been all over the place on the show. Like, he's serious, and then he's got Tully's face on his crotch, and he's I don't know. It's I don't know. Like, he bashed Cody's face in with a chair, and then he's losing all the time. He's quest for a partner. I don't know.
I'd like to see him in a tag team personally.
I would definitely like that too. I think the poor guy got screwed over by the whole COVID thing because they were building that tag team story, and then, like, what are you going to do with it now? You can't bring in random tag partners.
Yeah.
So you literally have to just cut it off for now and hopefully come back to it.
Who in AEW or in wrestling that they could bring in would you team with them?
Depends on what you want out of the team.
See, I don't know if you listened last week, but my idea was to cut Holy loose from him and cut Arn loose from Cody and have them manage FTR.
I feel like FTR having 2 managers would probably be too much.
I think it would be cool, like a different idea, right? Because we're conditioned to you can only have one manager, but to have like the Brainbusters or the Four Horsemen behind FTR.
I kind of like the idea of have them both trying to have every other week one of them is with them, and then eventually they have to choose.
Yeah.
The other one then gets to turn heel on them and pick a team, and now you've got a feud.
Do you think, because you have like Tully and you have Jake and you have some of these legend guys, Tully for sure to me hasn't been utilized very well up to this point. What would you do with these legends?
I think they're just starting to scrape the surface of Tully and realizing that, oh yeah, this guy's one of the best talkers we've ever seen in our entire lives. Let's let him get angry.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could be doing vignettes where it's Arn training Cody, doing tape study with him, getting him in the ring, and having Cody wrestle, like where you've got just clips of him wrestling like for 20 minutes straight, but he's doing 2-minute rounds against random people each time, and it keeps cutting between each person, and Cody's just getting more and more tired, and Arn's picking at him and move here, move there, and really get into the whole coaching aspect of it. Right now, he just seems like he's a guy in a sweater vest, and that is never something I wanted to say about Arn Anderson.
No, they've really mishandled him as being with Cody. I don't see that. It's not a good fit. Cody doesn't seem like a guy that needs the manager, especially because he's supposed to be that, to draw people in with, you're supposed to feel sorry for him, kind of like his dad, right? And to have.
His wife doesn't even manage him anymore.
I don't know what. Okay.
Well, no, it's. I just find that weird too. She's his valet, but then she's managing his brother.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very odd. Their manager, the way they do managers there is weird to me.
Anyway, to go back, Sean Spears, I could definitely see him teaming with Lance Archer once Lance Archer kind of cools down, because I think that might be happening.
I don't know that I'd put Lance in that role. You kind of need a big monster guy for people to work with.
I really think
That's
that
more vicious than Cage. Like Cage is,
yeah.
I enjoy Cage's matches, but that viciousness isn't there with him.
No.
I was gonna add that with the Taz promo, Cage facially, I'd want to see him like kind of like Brock Lesnar when he's standing behind Heyman when he's doing a promo. He looks like business. Cage just kind of was just there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other thoughts from Dynamite?
I like the FTR promo. I think that was an excellent promo. I particularly like the part about them getting tired of Meltzer talking about the Young Bucks being the Midnight Express. I thought that was pretty funny. But their whole promo I thought was excellent. I don't remember them ever talking like that in WWE.
They didn't really get a chance to talk like that in
Yeah.
WWE.
I can't remember them doing long promos.
No.
NXT they did some, but nothing on the main roster. They were too busy trying to shave each other's backs.
So what were your thoughts on the main event last night? It was Cody versus Jungle Boy. Now, I thought it was a good match, but what really threw me off was at the end, Cody won, but yet they had fireworks and everything. That the fireworks seemed really out of place. Like, why would they have fireworks ready to go?
It was forced. It seemed like overkill.
Yeah. They were trying to
much like the swearing, it's too much. Like you don't need fireworks after a AEW, Dynamite main event where it's not a title change. Like it's just too much.
I don't know if Cody. It's weird because he can get over on his matches and promos, but it just seems like we're gonna dump it. We're gonna make it extra special when he's out there. And I like Cody, but sometimes it comes off a little pretentious. Like he's almost subtly heel, but he's not a heel. I don't know. It is. I would agree. It's overkill big time.
All right. Well, let's move on into the world of WWE and let's talk about Raw. I just want to talk about my highlights from Raw. I don't care what you guys think. So first, I want to talk about the Kevin Owens Apollo Crews match. I really enjoyed that match. To me, that was probably the most entertaining match in the COVID era. I don't know what it was. I mean, Apollo strikes, they sounded crisp. The chemistry I felt was right, and I was really disappointed that we saw a run-in the end.
Friends have better matches. You'll hit each other harder and apologize later.
The perfect way to say it. What are your thoughts on Apollo Crews, though? Because I feel like it kind of hinted almost like a heel turn with the pre-match interview.
I think they still don't know what to do with him.
Really?
Apollo, to me, was another guy that got called up way too quickly. Not because he needs wrestling seasoning and needs to learn how to work, because he clearly knows what he's doing. But he hadn't found who he was. And getting called up to the main roster there after Mania that one year, it was literally a call up just to call the guy up. And he didn't have his legs under him to be able to go, okay, I'm going to be this character. He just would go out and have his matches. And he's never really been able to catch up. So I'm really hoping that this gives him an opportunity to go, listen, this is like, let's go this direction with me. Let's actually have a direction.
Do you think he would be better if he had someone to speak for him, like a manager or a valet? Not Lana.
I enjoy
Lana's
managers
terrible.
and valets. Yeah, she is. Which is weird because she was one of the best.
Yeah, well, with Rusev, right? Like, she was
Yeah, like
amazing, but
the first like 4 years with her and Rusev was amazing, and then as soon as they put her with Ziggler, it just killed her.
mhm.
I think the mouthpiece thing can be overdone at times, much like we're seeing with the AEW, where almost everybody's got a manager. I feel like if you have too many of those, it's going to take away from the value that they bring. I think Zelina Vega does an amazing job.
Yeah.
But she gets heat for her team, for her men. And Lana seems to never do that for anyone anymore. She just gets it on herself.
Yeah. Well, speaking of women, when I was watching Raw this week, there was one woman that she stood out to me, and believe it or not, it's Billie Kay. I was really enjoying her match, and I really think that she gets overshadowed by Peyton Royce because everyone's all gaga over Peyton Royce, which, so be it. Like, she is a good talent in that, but I really think Billie Kay is underrated. Like, there's some things that she can work on. Like, she needs more explosiveness, quickness with throwing strikes, but like, she had really good intensity on a chin lock. And she is very, very, very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I really see a lot of potential with her.
She's a good character, and she's a character to me that needs to do a lot of chirping in the ring.
Because that's her bread and butter. That's what I'm saying. She's entertaining.
Yes, and I don't think she's ever gonna. I mean this the most respectful way. She's never gonna set the ring on fire with a match. I don't think, but you're right. Like, her personality, which shines bright, and the Iconics are both of them are pretty good at that whole annoying voice. People will watch just because of that. They don't. I don't know. I would agree with you. She's very entertaining to watch. I not the best in the ring by any means, but somebody that you could do something with.
Not everyone has to be the greatest wrestler.
Nope.
And I think that's something that gets lost a lot with people nowadays, is that not everyone has to have a 5-star match. Find your role that you can fit in the best with and make that your spot. I think, like, personally, I've always loved the Iconics. From day one, I found them to just be, there was something there that they just had this ability to make you want to see them get beat. And that's something that's lacking a lot in heels nowadays, where it's, well, I want to be the cool heel. No, stop that. The NWO did it. DX did it. That's all you get. Everybody else, go back to being actual heels, please.
Yep.
So they go out and they make you hate them. And they're so good at it that you love that they're making you hate them, because you forget it at times. You're like, oh, man, I can't believe you said that. I wanted you to see you get punched. Wait, I like them. Damn it, you did it to me again.
For sure.
Yeah, I would agree.
Another thing that a lot of people, it really gets mixed reactions. I'm on the side that I've actually been enjoying them, and I'm talking about the Street Profit Viking Raider segments. I really started questioning when they started them, but they really won me over. They remind me of the old Coliseum segments, like you would see, like Kamala goes bowling. They're corny, but you know what? If we get anything from this, is that differences can coexist. And I also think it's a unique way to, like, build a feud, and I really applaud that.
I like the attempt. I think it's lost something in the delivery on a number of them. I didn't enjoy them nearly as much as you did.
Oh, that's a shame. I thought you would love them.
I enjoyed the basketball one. I found the axe throwing one to be one of the worst things I've had to sit through. The golf one was clearly somebody watched Happy Gilmore and just said, let's redo all these spots. And I just found that annoying, because that to me was just lazy. Yeah. You could have done so much more with it.
I'm sorry, I love Montez Ford. That's what it boils down.
I get that. My thing is, I can't stand Angelo Dawkins. I don't like his work in the ring, and I don't find him entertaining or engaging in the slightest.
He reminds me of Carmelo Anthony with that headband on all the time.
Well, and that's his thing, right? He wants the headband on because it is a very basketball thing. But I'm sorry, if he hits that stupid 360 thing in the corner where it's supposed to be a splash, but it doesn't even look like it hits the guy, if he does that again, I'm just gonna have to walk out of the room because it's just I can't.
Derek, did you call him Carmela Anthony?
Carmelo.
Oh,
Carmelo.
I thought I heard Carmela.
You would. Any other thoughts or opinions from Raw or SmackDown even? We didn't really, or NXT? Anything?
I can't talk about NXT this week because it doesn't play on the network anymore for another week.
Well, Fridays, right? Well, in Canada, Fridays on Sportsnet 360.
Yeah, I watched that.
The 1 hour edition?
I'm not sure. I just my DVR records it.
I think it's 2 hours on.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but
yeah, I just want to go on that. That pisses me off a lot because I love NXT. I love the network. The whole reason why I kept the network for so long was because of NXT was exclusive on it. I could always
1000%.
watch it. Now the network took away NXT, and now they're offering content for free. It makes me question, why do I need to keep the network?
You really don't.
Like, other than pay-per-views or whatever, like, what am I getting out of it? They took a whole bunch away from us. But do you think that they're going to give us anything in return? Like, are we going to get, like, the Evolve stuff that they've been, teasing for a while?
You'll get an extra fee in return, I think. Because it'll be a tiered version.
I found it really annoying that my cable carrier raised the network $2 and didn't tell anybody. They just did it, and then the commercial started airing a month later, going $14.99. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck?
Yeah, they're gonna. I don't know. It's gonna be totally different than it was previously.
So do you think they're in a transitioning phase right now, and that's why?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you really think about it, UFC is still on pay-per-view.
Yep.
AEW is on pay-per-view, and I think Double or Nothing did good. So when you look at something like WrestleMania, how much, like the millions and millions of dollars they probably would have made if they hadn't went to that free-to-watch model with the network. My guess, and I always thought this, the network, the fact that you can watch everything for free for, $10 in the US, $12 in Canada, I would have thought they would have had something where it's like, okay, WrestleMania, an extra $10 through the network or something like that, where they would have made more of a profit on it. I have a feeling they're going that route. It's going to go that route eventually. Maybe probably more than $10, but it's going to change. Network's going to change. They were talking about selling the network at one point before COVID hit.
Yeah, there was a lot of rumors about them, like they were going to sell off the pieces of it, like, your pay-per-views were going to get sold to Fox Sports or to ESPN or whatever. And I don't know. I mean, they're going to go where the money is. The thing is, with the network, like, you look at all the infrastructure that you have to have, how much is it costing them each month, and how much are they actually making off of it versus what they could make off of it. Because I'm betting you they're going to go, look, if we've got 1.2 million subscribers, if we put Mania on a network and make $100 million for Mania, that's more than we would have made from all the network subscriptions for that month, so it's worth it. I think that's probably the model they're going to look at.
But I know me as a wrestling fan, I've been spoiled for, like, 10, 12, $15 a month paying for a pay-per-view that, like, when AEW has a pay-per-view, I'll be honest, I don't buy it because I think it's too much. $50, $54.
It's $54.99.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to that.
In the middle of a pandemic, they charge $54.99. That's way too pricey.
It is.
I know they got to make a profit.
The thing of it is this: think of us back in the day. What would we always do when it was Royal Rumble or WrestleMania?
Get together.
We'd all get together in a group. Everybody throws in $5. It pays for the pay-per-view and the pizzas, and you've got your whole party together.
I miss those days.
Exactly. How many times have we done that since the network has came out?
Yeah.
3. And it's never been Mania. It's only been for the Rumble game. And even then with some, we've had to bail because we've had stuff to do.
Yeah.
I think going back to that old model might actually be good as far as engaging the fans more, because you're going to get more groups coming together again.
And with that being said, I just want to thank you for coming on the show this week, Steve. It's been an honor, a pleasure, and I can speak for Matt in saying I hope that we have you on again sometime down the line. So any last things you want to say?
Like I said, I mean, I had a blast with you guys. It's always fun getting to chat with you again. I miss you guys. And anytime you guys want me on here, I am more than happy to be here.
We'll have you on. We just can't hug.
And with that being said, I am Derek. He is Matt Pepper. Have a good week, everyone.